Hi all, thank you for tuning into my channel. This is session 11A of the ozone technology course, and this session introduces the concept of UV germicidal lamps, UV ozone generating lamps, the issues including limitation and safety. There are two types of lamps. One is called the UV radiation germicidal lamps, and the other one is the UV ozone producing lamps. Both these lamps, in terms of output, in the case of UV radiation lamps, it depends on their voltage output or wattage output and the strength of the radiation. In UV ozone producing lamps, it also depends on the strength of the radiation as well as the input of air or oxygen and the output. While using the UV radiation germicidal lamps, the germicidal effect will only be as long as the air or water passes through the lamps. In the case of the ozone producing lamps, the ozone is produced when you pass air through it, and oxygen is converted to ozone. So the amount of ozone being produced by the ozone producing lamps will be dependent on the number of lamps and the volume of air that is flowing through. The applications for both are limited. The wavelengths for the radiation by UV are between 185 nanometers to 254 nanometers. The lamps that produce these wavelengths are called germicidal lamps. UV rays at 185 to 250 nanometer act as biocides when exposed to them. This property is used to make equipment for disinfection of water and air, as well as to pre-treat sewage water. The UV wavelengths between 100 nanometer to 240 nanometer, which are far lower wavelengths than for the radiation treatment, they are used to produce ozone. Because of the very short wavelengths, the radiation is very high energy content, and therefore at this wavelength oxygen is dissociated and ozone is formed. So these are called ozone producing lamps. The diagram on the left shows the full light spectrum from the X-rays to the ultraviolet to visible light and infrared. And if you see the graph, it is parabolic, which indicates the precise wavelength at which the most effective light wavelength at which radiation is most effective. At this radiation, through the photochemical destruction of DNA of microorganisms and of course single animal cells via absorption of UV light, the shutdown of organisms or reproductive processes deactivates it and renders it non-pathogenic. The diagram on the right shows you a typical UV disinfectant systems. You note that there is an intake fan which will suck in air, and it goes through the series of lamps, and it comes out of the other end where the air would have been completely treated. This is a blown up picture of the same so that you'll be able to see it a bit more clear. UV at 245 or so nanometers is used for disinfectant light when it impinges upon the cell and the cell nucleus, RNA and DNA cleaves or mutates to different structure, thereby destroying the initial characteristics of the DNA and the killing of the bacteria or any cell. The diagram on the left shows a typical water treatment system using UV light. There are two UV lamps, or it could be multiple. Water goes into the inlet and passes through the lamps and comes out as the outlet in the outlet. During the process of passing through the lamps, the UV disinfects the water, and the infected water becomes disinfected. And you will note that the UV light must strike and penetrate and kill the bacteria as the water flows through. And for this to be effective, it is time related for the exposure. The picture here shows a typical DNA strand which has been split into the RNA. The UV radiation induces the dimers, disrupts the DNA replication by reacting and breaking down the bonds. The effect of ozone on the DNA and RNA chains are also very similar to this. They attack the bonds of the chain and break them down. This is typical when ozone or UV is impinged on to the DNA or RNA. The disinfection by UV rays is a strike kill. That is, the UV rays must hit the bacteria as the water or air flows through the tube. The strike rate depends upon the flow rate of the air or water for any specific lamp. The slower the flow, the greater strike rate, and vice versa. Or more lamps have to be added. The water or air must be dust-free. If water, free of sediments or colloidal particles, as these will serve to shield the bacteria from the rays. The air or water must be filtered, but disinfection will be poor for treatment of colloidal solutions. The water or airflow rate is further limited, or more lamps have to be added. The UV lamp can gather dust and slime over a period, and that will reduce the permeability of the rays so that the strike on the bacteria is not possible. Therefore, the UV lamp must be cleaned regularly to continue to be effective. The lamps also have a limited active life and will have to be changed when the lamps reduce their UV emittance. Now we shall come to the UV ozone generation lamps. These lamps, as I did mention, produce a wavelength of 100 to 240 nanometers. The short wavelength light has very high energy output. The diagram on the right shows this effect in the atmosphere, where the UV light breaks the oxygen and recombines to form ozone. Likewise, when this wavelength hits the oxygen in the air, the oxygen splits, atoms recombine to form ozone in our UV ozone generation systems. The UV ozone is also used in limited applications. This diagram shows an equipment that produces ozone through UV. As you see there, the fan that sucks in contaminated air, and this fan passes, this air passes through the lamp, and the oxygen is converted to ozone as it passes through, and the ozone comes through, and in the process disinfects the air. This ozonated air can be filled into the room and used to deodorize the room. In order to be, for the ozone to be active and to react, it needs some moisture. So ozone deodorizes the air in the presence of moisture, kills all bacteria, fungus, and virus, giving a clean air. This method is applied to air conditioning retreatment. The UV equipment is placed directly, exposing the flow of the cold air to UV light as soon as it passes through the chiller plates. Air is then drawn from the exhaust vent of the room. The ozone sterilizes the air, which is then directed to the inlet vent. It can also be applied to pre-ozone treatment for sewerage treatment, where low concentration of ozone and high air volume is required for the pre-ozonation process. This is a picture of a typical air ozone lamp, and where the ozone is generated by the UV lamps. There is a small pump that sucks air and pushes the air through the column in which the UV ozone lamps are. And as the air flows through the UV ozone, ozone is produced, and this air is sucked through the venturi, where the water from the inlet of the venturi mixes up with the ozonated air from the UV lamp equipment and becomes ozonated as it comes out of the venturi. And ozone dissolves in the water and eventually will sterilize the water, depending how much concentration of ozone there is. There are some issues with ozone production by UV ozone. First of all, UV light through which high energy is not high enough to produce much ozone. The concentration stated by the manufacturer is generally related to the amount produced in 1 hour will appear to be very high. But if you consider the airflow volume in tens of liters per minute, the actual concentration is often less than 0.01 ppm. At this concentration, the ozone is of limited use. I will not be irresponsible if I do not explain the dangers of UV light. There are manufacturers, particularly in China, who promote UV sterilization equipment with lamps that are exposed to the eyes. As I've explained earlier, the UV light is very dangerous. It will attack the eyes, including the retina, and eventually cause blindness. Under no circumstances must we operate any UV equipment which allow the UV light to be seen. Responsible manufacturers fully enclose the lamps sight unseen, but may put in a glass window to observe if the lamps are working. Fortunately, UV light does not go through soda glass, but will go through silica glass. On a recall, very high volume of air feed, often in cubic meters per hour, are used for UV ozone. Manufacturers will state high ozone output. We must take care not to be misled by such high outputs. Total output appears to be very high, but considering the total volume of airflow, the concentration ozone output is very low and not useful in many applications that require high concentrations. This low concentration, high volume ozonated air can be used in sewage treatment, pre-ozonation, because the purpose of this ozone is not to kill the bacteria, but to break down the proteins that will make it easier for the bacteria to digest. This information will be provided for in later sessions where we discuss on application of ozone for sewage treatment. Thank you for tuning into my channel. This is the end of session 11A. Session 11B will be on coronal discharge ozone systems. If you have tuned this for the first time, please visit sessions 1 and 2 for details of the course, and sessions 3 and 10 for the other course sessions. I would really appreciate if you tick the like icon and preferably the subscription icon, where you will be notified of uploading of the remainder of the sessions. Thank you and have a very good day.